Hey everybody, this is Mr. Walker. Today's topic is multiply tens by two-digit numbers. And what we mean by tens is, for example, 70 is referred to as a 10 because when you count by tens, if you went 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, that's what we mean by 10. And then two-digit number would be, for example, 55. You have the 5, the 50, and the 5, and that's two-digit. That's what we mean by two-digit numbers. By the end of this video, you will be able to solve problems like this. 70 times 55. Remember our place value, tens and ones. We're going to start in our ones. 0 times 5 is 0. And then 7 times 5 is 35. Now we're going to go to the 5 in the tens. 5 times 0 is 0. Notice I made this yellow box. That's really one of the key ideas for this lesson is that you want to shift over because we're multiplying a 10. We want to write the product in the tens, okay? And then 5 times 7 is once again 35. And you see how we have it shifted over here. Then our second step is to add. And usually this spot here, we add a 0 called a placeholder. Some people have other names for it, spacer, something like that. I just call it a placeholder. And then you add 0 plus 0, 5 plus 0, 3 plus 5. Remember, you could use a pin dot strategy and go 5, 6, 7, 8. And finally, your 3. So your product would be 3,850, and as all we did is we multiplied and we added. Like any math lesson, there's always some key ideas and vocabulary. Let's touch on them quickly. Like we said previously, tens means that when you're counting by tens. Some kids confuse it and they think, well, it has to be a 10. Well, yes, a 10 is part of tens, but tens are when you're counting by tens. For example, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, and continuing are referred to as tens because you count by tens. Just a reminder that when you multiply by zeros, any number by 0, your answer, your product is always 0. That's a good thing, by the way, because these problems really are easy. But sometimes some of the young people get turned around on that. So for example, 8 times 0 is 0. And if you have the 0 first or last, it doesn't matter. It's still going to be 0. If it's on top or bottom, 8 times 0, it's still 0. Remember when you multiply zeros. If it's a big number, it doesn't matter. Even if it's 34,568 times 0, guess what? Answer is 0. Or a small, doesn't matter how small. 0 times 1, 0. Our steps for multiplying 10 by two digits is that we multiply each place value and then we add. And I showed that here to be, hopefully this is helpful, that we multiply up here and then we add down here. Okay, well, let's get started. 14 times 30. And remember, in our place values, we would have tens and ones, and we start with our ones. So 0 times 4, I just, to save time, I showed it over here. 0 times 4, of course, we said is 0. Then 0 times 1 would be also 0. That's why I love zeros, okay? Now we're going to go to the 3. Where does it in? It's in the tens. And again, I made this yellow box. Don't go putting it over here, right? The rule is that you have to keep that aligned with your tens. 3 times 4, we said over here is 12. And here I'm going to regroup. And then 3 times 1 is 3. And like a previous lesson, we said that we have to add that 3 to the regroup 10, which would be 4. Then our second step is to add. Now, we have this number here. Well, nothing in math is 0, right? So you can just add that placeholder. 0 plus 0 is 0. 0 plus 2 is 2. And finally, our product is 420. Try another one. 29 times 50. Remember, our basic steps are you multiply first, each place value, and I'm showing that up here. These are the steps that you would do. You don't have to write them up here all the time, but this is just showing you for this lesson. And then our second step is to add. Okay, we start in our ones. 0 times 9 is 0. 0 times 2 is also 0, right? That's why I love zeros. Now we're going to move to the 5. Remember that the 5 is in the tens place. 5 times 9 is 45. That's a two-digit answer, by the way, so I will have to regroup. The 5 goes here, not down here, but in your tens. As long as you do this step, I think you're going to be fine. And then 5 times 2 is 10. I'm showing that over here, but we have to add it to the 4. That would be 14, right? So, and then we're going to add these two numbers here. Again, I love the zeros, right? Put in your placeholder. I wish every problem was as easy as this one. And so 29 times 50 would be equal to 1,450. Pause if you want and try it. Let's solve 20 times 12. Remember, we're going to multiply up here. Then we're going to add. And again, this says ones and tens. I'm sorry for not explaining that earlier. I mean, 2 is in the ones. So when we're multiplying, we're writing that here. Okay, so we're going to start in our ones. 2 times 0, I'm showing these steps up here, is 0. 2 times 2 is 4. I love that. Now, we're done here. We're going to jump into our tens. 1 times 0 is 0. And 1 times 2 is 2. Now we're going to add. And you can put in your placeholder. 0 plus 0 is 0. 4 plus 0 is 4. And 2. So our product is 240. In other words, 20 times 12 is equal to 240. Let's try one more today. Let's do some problem solving. And again, if you want to pause it and try it. The Hart family drove 10 hours to their vacation spot. I'm going to try to make it just a tad closer. Drove 10 hours to their vacation spot. They drove an average of 48 miles each hour. How many miles did they drive? Again, if you want to pause it, I'm going to go ahead and solve though. I'm seeing 10, and 10 for each hour would be 10 times 48. So and my steps are to multiply and add. 8 times 0 is 0. 8 times 1 is 8. Now remember, when we get to the tens, am I going to write it down here? No, we're going to put it under the tens. Just remember that. I think as long as you do that, you're going to be fine. 4 times 0, I'm loving that. That's 0. And 4 times 1, see, I love these. These are so easy. And now our second step is we're simply going to add these numbers down here. I'll put in my placeholder. 0 plus 0 is 0. 8 plus 0 is 8. And 4. So our final answer is 480. So In review, our lesson today is that if I can ever find my front page here, is that we were multiplying tens. Again, we're multiplying by 2 digits. And just remember that our steps are to multiply, right? Up here, you multiply and write your products, and then the products that you get, then you add. Just remember again that when you're multiplying the digit in the tens, that you begin to write your answer. You've got to kind of shift over. You don't want to put it here because you're going to shift everything into the wrong column. All right, thanks everybody, and we'll see you next time.